Alexandra's on the phone. We couldn't get her on the Skype wall, but we have got her on the phone, I'm pleased to say. Evening, Alexandra.
Hello, how are you?
Very well indeed. Welcome to Sports Tonight TV. You're in the studio. You're on with us. Adrain, Clarke in the studio, and Leroy, Rosenior. And we were talking about Andy Murray and the impact of Ivan Lendl. You've watched a lot of tennis. Tell us about the impact he's had on Andy's game.
Well, I think the biggest thing really is just turning Andy into this very, very focused individual. I think if you need any measure of Lendl and the way he is, you only have to look at the way he responded to Andy's win. He sat there incredibly calm, incredibly focused, and he just cracked the slightest of smiles. And I think that's exactly what he's done. He's tried to contain that emotion that Murray has shown so much in the past and get him to drive it into the way he plays tennis. And it seems to be working.
It's interesting, isn't it, chaps? You've both, as I say, you've both had managers who you get to finals or whatever else, and you've achieved nothing yet. You know, it's about going to the final and actually doing the business. And I just want to ask Alexandra, you say that Ivan's had a great impact on him, but he himself, he looks stronger, he looks fitter, he looks more composed, his shot selection looks better. Are you impressed by what he's producing this time around?
Oh, very much so. I think the thing with Andy Murray, it was never about talent or what he had on the court. It was being able to use what he has at the right moments. And I think what got in the way was that he didn't believe that he could win. He didn't believe that he deserved to be there. And in his previous Grand Slam finals, his shot selection was all over the place. I think because he was not convinced that he could actually do it. And he's really shown this tournament so far that he's produced the things he needed to at exactly the right time.
Alexandra, I'm not a tennis expert, but one of the small changes that Lendl seemed to make in Andy is that when he plays a bad point, he doesn't let it affect him for such a long time afterwards, and he bounces back a little bit quicker now.
Yeah, I think that's the sort of thing that everyone's slightly saying. It's trying to use his energy in a positive way rather than screaming at his box or swiping at his racket or getting upset about it. And I'm not saying that you should play without emotion, because I think you need emotion to drive you on, but it's trying to really focus that into the next point and into, as you say, not dwelling too much on mistakes he's made, but really keeping himself pumped up. And the other night when he was playing against Bagdatis and he was racing against the clock to finish on time, he didn't stop. He just kept going, and it was really exciting to see.
I was going to say, Alexandra, he had a really tough draw, didn't he, ahead of the tournament? I looked at his section and I feared for his chances. Do you think the fact that he's played some really top players en route to the final has played him into form?
Oh, absolutely. And I also think that Andy Murray is not the kind of guy that likes to be bet against. I think if everyone said he's got such an easy draw, he's going to definitely make it through to the final, then that would probably put more pressure on him. Whereas when you're saying he's got to beat really tough players to do it, then that gives him, something more to fight against. And we'll definitely see on Sunday that he should be much better form than he would have been if he'd had an easier ride, definitely.
Alexandra has been to 3 major finals before, but this one will be very different because it will be in his house here at Wimbledon. How different do you expect the atmosphere, just everything around Sunday's final to be?
I think the atmosphere is going to be unlike anything we've ever seen. I mean, I'm standing here in a corridor at Wimbledon, and there is a buzz around the place that I've never experienced. We were talking about it earlier. It's probably going to be one of the biggest matches that any of us lucky enough to work in tennis has seen, because Federer's going for his record-equaling 7th title. He's also going to take the #1 ranking. If he does that, then he'll surpass Pete Sampras's all-time #1 record of weeks as #1. And then you've got Andy Murray playing at home, trying to become the first Grand Slam champion since Fred Perry here in 1936. I just think it's going to be extraordinary.
It's going to be momentous either way, and you're lucky enough to see it. Alexandra Wills, thanks for coming on to the show.
No worries, my pleasure.
Alexandra Wills, tennis journalist at Wimbledon this evening, and she's absolutely right. For us as journalists, a win for Andy Murray, great for business. It's going to really get the feel-good factor going Monday morning, but also write off anyone else for sports personality of the year as well if he wins that, because trust me, if this guy becomes the first one since what, 1936, since Fred Perry, he'll be a legend instantly.
And to beat Federer would make it even more special for someone like Murray.
Sure.
I mean, he's up against it. Rodger Federer was absolute class against Djokovic in the semi-final. He was outstanding. I mean, he's my favourite player at
really?
He's my favourite sportsman.
So
actually,
you're backing against Murray, are you?
I think Federer will win, actually. Yeah. I do feel.
Do you think
that.
if he wins, he'll be British? If he loses, he'll be Scottish? Do you think that'll be the case? But what I will say, very important, is the way he starts. As I think in the Grand Slams before, you've known he's lost the game.
He hasn't won a set.
Never won a set in a final
first
before.
Few games.
Yeah.
So I think the atmosphere, everybody's got to get behind him, give him a real lift. So he goes in there absolutely buzzing, because he always seems to be a little bit flat when he's gone into the start of the final. So I think that'll be to his advantage.
I think it's helped that he hasn't had a really tough game today. You know, it's been fairly straightforward. I know he had that little blip halfway through, well, even sort of 3/4 of the way through, but the first couple of sets it was flawless. It broke early. It was decisive. He had good, as I was saying before, good shot selection. And I think it helps that he had a relatively smooth passage.
I think there's a lot of nervous energy used up there. You know, when you're expected to win a game, you're a lot more nervous than when you're just going out there and you can just be relaxed and free flowing. You know, and Tsonga, had his bad finger. There's lots of excuses for
Tsonga wasn't
today,
at it today. Tsonga's a quality player. On his day, he could beat anyone. Tsonga. But he just wasn't at it, was he?
Well, every time he played a shot, he was taking it because he had a swollen finger, didn't he? So every time he was having trouble with his finger. But there's no excuse. You're in the semi-final. So if Andy had lost today, he knows that he would have been big chance missed.
Absolutely. Well, we're not going to miss the chance to race through a whole host of subjects tonight here on Sports Tonight Live. Adrian and Leroy in the studio with me for the next couple of hours. We'll see you after this.